Regardless of what type of custom decoration business you own, you must understand how to create and manipulate digital artwork. When it comes to digital artwork, it all starts with understanding the difference between a bitmap and a vector image. A bitmap image is composed of hundreds or thousands of pixels, or essentially dots that make up the design, whereas a vector image uses lines and curves. Now, when it comes down to it, a vector image can be scaled without losing any image quality. Essentially, it can be made larger or smaller without any problems, and it can easily be color separated because a vector image is essentially made up of a bunch of objects, or essentially confined colors within the artwork that can be easily eliminated or have their color changed. This is perfect for when it comes to screen printing. Now, a bitmap image uses, again, hundreds or thousands of pixels, dots, to make up the design. Now, this allows you to manipulate it as far as photos or any detailed artwork where you're going to have a lot of shading and you're going to want to manipulate that photo. Again, both are going to have their place. Bitmap images are often great for digital printing because they can hold a lot more detailed, versus a vector image is often much better for screen printing because when it comes to screen printing, you must be able to separate the colors within the artwork. So it's going to really come down to what your customer is asking for is going to really dictate if you're going to be working with a bitmap or a vector image. When it comes to bitmap and vector images, you really have three main types of software programs that allow you to work with them. When it comes to bitmaps, it really comes down to Adobe Photoshop. Adobe Photoshop has been really the industry standard for decades now, and essentially it is where you want to ever manipulate any photo or digital printed artwork, whether it be for sublimation, wide format, or DTG. Now, when it comes to creating artwork for screen printing or anything, a type of vector that needs to be scalable, you want to be working with Adobe Illustrator or Corel Draw. Now realize, vector images are often a little bit more difficult to work with as far as creating from scratch, and even the software program can be a little bit more intimidating, but once you get the hang of it, again, if you're doing any screen printing, you really need to take the time to learn how to make your own vectors. Now realize, customers more often than not have a bitmap image they give you, and often you need to convert it to a vector. And how you do that is you use some type of tracing tool within Corel Draw or Illustrator. Now realize that the higher quality the bitmap image, or essentially the higher resolution, more dots per inch, the easier it is going to be to trace it and convert it to a vector. Now realize that, again, tracing a bitmap to a vector is a complex process, and sometimes it makes sense to just outsource it. Look into freelance programs like Fiverr.com. Fiverr.com is a marketplace where you have tons of artists who are willing to do art manipulation for $5 to $30 depending on how complex it is. So if you have a low resolution bitmap image you need converted to a vector, look to go to Fiverr.com, and again, for $5 and essentially in 12 hours, you can have exactly what you need for printing. Now realize, when it comes to digital artwork, you also have embroidery. When it comes to embroidery, you need to essentially have your artwork digitized. Digitizing revolves around telling the software, essentially the embroidery machine, where and how many stitches to lay down to create the artwork. Now before a design can be digitized, it must first be a vector or a very high resolution bitmap image. Again, the digitizer must be able to work with a really high quality image and essentially convert it to a sewable format. Now, if you don't want to really be investing in any type of software program yourself, again, you could be outsourcing through Fiverr.com to vector or digitized artwork, or you can also look into using online tools. We at PrintPhase have an online design tool builder. It's very intuitive, it's very easy to use. You can add text, designs, upload your own artwork, and really manipulate it to the full extent that you would need. Also, we have created hundreds of templates that are easy to edit, in which essentially you're just changing variables like clip art or text, and then before you know it, within just a few seconds, you've created a 100% original design. Again, when it comes to owning a decoration business, you must understand how digital artwork works and be able to communicate it with your customer. The better you can communicate with your customers, the less work you're going to have to do on your end. When you're working with repeat customers, it is definitely worth the time to explain them, hey, this is what we need, try to get us these file types. Again, if you're going to be screen printing, you want vector. If you're going to be digital printing, you want a bitmap. If you're going to sew, it needs to be digitized. If you have any questions when it comes to creating and manipulating digital artwork, please do not hesitate contacting us. Thank you.